Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing from. This is Laura Thompson with TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach, and it's Women's History Month, y'all. And so we're
Yay.
celebrating women, all over the city of San Antonio and outside of San Antonio. We got some women from Austin and Houston that we're going to be interviewing later on in the month. But today, we have Miss Carla-Joy Sisco. She's a candidate for District 2 City Council. And I've been practicing your name because it's kind of a tongue twister. So I've been practicing. I said, I got to get this right. Carla-Joy Sisco.
hmm
So welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing excellent. I want to just thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited because it is Women's Month, and this is an opportunity to showcase one of the some of the most brilliant minds that are women in our society. So I'm excited about that.
Wow. So, I'm not a past history person. I'm a living history person. I like to learn about, how people got started and where
Mm-hmm.
they are now. And so before we get started with the interview, I would like to just ask you to tell us, who you are, what you
hmm
do, why you do it, where you're from, all of that good stuff.
Okay, that's good. That's good, a good place to start. So again, my name is Carla Joyce Cisco. And my story begins with me as a teenager and my mom dragging me and saying, "We're going to go knock on doors." That's a door knocker.
Okay.
um, for a political, someone that was running for a political office in Philadelphia. And so that's how my career in politics started. And every season, she would just say, "Hey, look, let's go work and do some civic duty and do some civic work for the community." And so I got involved that way because my mom was a huge community advocate. Her name is Carolina Edwards. She passed away, so I get a little emotional at times when I say that because she just recently passed away.
Wow.
But she was into a lot of the political arena in that time, and so that kind of got me started. And I went to college. I graduated with a degree in finance. I did banking, so I went to the private sector for a while, but I still had that thing about wanting to be with people and work with people. And so it wasn't being satisfied in the private sector. So I co-founded with her a program for youth at risk, right, from
Wow.
alcohol and drug addiction. And we did that for several decades. But in the interim, we realized that that wasn't enough because the parents were coming home from treatment and they didn't have a place to necessarily stay because in some cases that might have burnt the bridges, right, with family members, and they didn't have a
Mm,
place to stay. So one of the things that we did as a continuum of service is that we provided transitional housing where the parents could come and stay there with their children while they were getting services like training. They had opportunity to go back to school if they wanted to, so they could stay up to 2 years at the program and get that opportunity to reignite their relationships and mend situations within the community and get back in the community. So I've done that for several decades, as I said, and loved it because I love community work. After that, I started thinking about moving to Texas, right? It was almost around that period. I started thinking about moving to Texas. I've been to Texas a few times, and I loved the state. I love Texas. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start thinking about making that move. And when I
wow.
made the move to Texas, like we talked a little bit before we started, I got in a position. I worked at the University of Penn for a few years. I don't want to skip
Wow.
that part. I worked at the University of Penn for a few years as a teaching assistant, as
Right.
well for a nonprofit group as a teaching assistant. And then I transitioned to Texas. So that being said, I worked at CPS Energy for a
So
while, and
before we get all the way to Texas, let's go
hmm
back to Philadelphia. So as a
hmm
teenager, so you were block walking, right? And
yes.
so as a teenager, how did you feel about that? Is it something that you wanted to do, or that your mom had to convince you to do, or were you willing? participant? What, how did that go?
I was not a willing participant.
I
I don't think any teenager is a
know, right?
willing participant on when you can be hanging out with your friends, right? And things like that. So I wasn't the willing participant initially, but I think after the second season, and I
Hmm.
realized that the impact that it had, and by impact, I mean, I literally helped to get this person elected,
That's
right?
cool.
And
Yeah,
so that's where I was like, this matters. There is a way to participate besides your vote, right? There is a way to participate to get those people that you want to see that align with the things that you believe in, that the community is asking for, right? To get them in office. And that's when the excitement really began. And that was maybe the second cycle, but the initial cycle, it was just about, okay, mom, I'll help. Fine.
right, right. I know
Uh-huh.
my grandmother and my aunt were real active,
Mhm,
and we would have to. She worked the polls, so we would have to
mhm.
go. I'm like, oh wow, there we go again, working the polls. But so that's good, and so your interest in serving the community started very early,
Yes.
as
Yes.
a teenager, and
Yes. Hmm.
so so what did you do as a block walker? What did you talk to people or?
Yes, we actually knocked on doors and said, we had our talking points, right? That was given
Mhm.
to us by the candidate. We had our talking points. We will actually knock on the door and we will repeat those talking points to them, and then we will hand them. And then, we had to make sure that the person was registered to vote, right? And if they weren't registered to vote, we told them the process for registering to vote. And if we had cards, we gave them the register to vote cards. And
Mhm.
then the other part was that ask, right? We would like to for you to vote for this candidate because of these talking points. So you couldn't leave without the ask, right? To make sure that they were aware of the candidate, aware of their talking points, and ensure that they were willing to vote for the candidate.
Wow, so
Hmm.
that's super exciting,
Hmm.
and it's really good to start at such a young age, because it becomes a part of who you
Yes.
are, if
Hmm.
especially if you like it. And
Yes.
so did you attend high school in Philadelphia?
Yes, I went to high school and college in Philadelphia. I was one of those students who had to work full time and go to school full time.
Wow.
So I did attend college. I did finish college, but again, it was I was very busy because I didn't have time to do anything else but work and study at that time. So that I graduated from St. Joseph University with a
Okay.
degree in finance. Hmm.
Okay. So you're a numbers girl, huh?
Yes, a data wonk.
Wow. So that, being a numbers person
Mhm,
is a very important part of um, politics, because you got
mhm,
to deal with budgets and funding and all
mhm,
those things. So that's a great quality to have.
mhm.
So don't mess with Carla, because
Because
she can,
I can read the fine print.
right, she can read a budget. So
Yes. Uh-huh.
don't mess around. She might be asking some questions about the budget.
Hmm.
Uh, and so you graduated. You went to high school there. Were you
Hmm.
involved in any activities in high school?
Yes, I was involved. As a matter of fact, I was part of what's called at the time, I might be dating myself, but it was a motivation program, right?
Okay.
Where students were actually taken out of the normal courses in high school, the normal classes, and we were immersed in lots of outside engaging activities. You may go to the theater one week. You may be at some point visit with a an agency and work for that agency for maybe not work but shadow in the agency for a couple of weeks. You were taught courses like budgeting and finance, which is not really part of the normal curriculum in high
Good.
school. So the motivation motivational program allowed you to not just get the standard education, but also get those additional life skills that you normally wouldn't get in the high school curriculum. Although I believe that it should have been part of the normal experience of everybody in high school, I was fortunate to be able to be selected for that program.
Wow, so that's phenomenal. So,
Mhm.
so back then when you were in college, high school and college, what was important to you?
What was important to me, again, because I spent a lot of time, like I said, working 40 hours, 35 hours at the time, and going to college at the same time. So in high school, academics was important to me. I took a lot of AP classes. I participated in a lot of programs that, like, I was the in one of the lead people. I wasn't the president, but lead in the yearbook, for example. And so I participated in, I also was part of I participated in plays and student government, things like that, right?
Wow.
To just help expand my knowledge base, because my thing and my one of the key things that my parents sort of passed on to me is that you have to be more holistic in your knowledge. Everything is not going to come from your high school. Everything's not going to come from college, so you have to kind of broaden your horizons, right? And whether that was after school programs, or whether that was the motivational program, or whether that was AP classes and things like that, education was key in my family. It was very important for us to be get some kind, and it didn't necessarily, because my brother opted to go to trade school, right?
Hmm.
So it wasn't necessarily that it had to be a 4-year degree, but the important thing was that you had to take it beyond high school, right? You had
Wow.
to get some skills beyond high school to help you to move, progress forward as an adult, number one, but just to be able to have a decent living, right? So
Hmm.
that you'll be able to take care of yourself and your family.
Right. So you have to feed
Mhm.
yourself, right? You
You
got to
got to
do.
feed yourself. That's the bottom line. You got to feed yourself.
Wow. So you
Mhm.
tuned into TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach, and we're going to pause for a brief station break, and then we'll be right
Mhm.
back.
Get ready for a showdown with the HBCU All-Stars, the best in black college basketball.
Hello, my name is Travis Williams. I'm the CEO and founder of HBCU All Stars, a black-owned sports marketing events and media company located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Epic doubleheader featuring the 4th annual men's HBCU All-Star Game and first ever women's HBCU All-Star Game during Final Four weekend in the great city of San Antonio at Freeman Coliseum on Sunday, April 6th, celebrating the best in black college and showing the world HBCUs matter.
So we're back. We're back, and we're speaking with Carla-Joy Sisco. She's a candidate for District 2 City Council, and we've just been discussing a little bit of her background to show
Mhm.
that she's got a spark for being in politics, and she's been that way since she was a
Mhm.
teenager. And she talked about some of the activities that she participated in high school, and student government is one of them. And so
Mhm.
she's it's ingrained in her to serve. It seems like because she's
Mhm.
still on that path. So so after you graduated from college, what did you do?
After I graduated from college, I landed my first job. I was so excited in banking. I was a branch manager, so I trained to be a branch manager in the banking industry, and so that was exciting because that's where I got to learn, and I've got maybe about I want to say 20 plus years of financial management experience, right? across all of the things that I've done. But that was where I first got the opportunity to understand the ins and outs of how money works, right? And how money can work for you. And so I took great pleasure, even as a branch manager, to speak to the average person coming in and say, look, I want to open a CD, right? A certificate of deposit. And they would just maybe not be educated on what that really meant, right? And so it was my opportunity to educate again the public, kind of that same string of being involved with the public, and saying, hey, look, you need to determine when you want to be able to get that money back. Right? You just don't lock it in for 5 years or lock it in for 10 years, and understand what it means in terms of the interest rate, the rate of return, things like that. When it would it be beneficial? Is a CD a beneficial instrument? Maybe it's a money market, right? And so having those kinds of conversations with the public, the little grandmother that came in with her roll of money saying, what do I do with this?
Wow.
Right? And being able to have those conversations, and then having conversations with teenagers and young adults that are, thinking about college and how to finance college as well, and what are some of the instruments that you can use to finance college if you don't get enough if you don't get enough grants, having those conversations about student loan and interest rates and things like that, and what might that look like? How do you lock yourself into this for 20 to 30 years? You might be paying on student loan if this is the minimum wage, if you're only paying the minimum amount. So just providing knowledge to the community as to what finances is like. And I did that as a side business as well, just doing financial training and providing financial acumen to families, because that's where my passion was as well. Because I remember one family that I was helping, and the wife said, I love shopping, right?
Yes, she
And the
does.
husband was like, mm-hmm. And I said, okay, give me all your budget, give me all your information. We'll meet again next week and we'll talk. And then I came back and said, you need to stop shopping.
So much, right?
Right? You need to stop shopping, and let's talk about how do we create a budget with a shopping line item in it, so that
Wow.
you can know exactly how much you have to spend. We shouldn't necessarily take away everything, right? But we need to ensure that it's a line item. So that was really exciting in terms of my career in finance. After I did that for a while, like I said, I just felt this pull back to community service. And that's when I started the Youth at Risk program for youth who were at risk for alcohol and drug abuse in that area in the community that I worked in South Philly. And so, with that in mind, again, we did that for quite some time. That program actually ran for almost 20 plus years, but we noticed that there was a gap, right? The parents were coming home from treatment, but oftentimes, because there was no continuum of services for them, they fell back in the trap of addiction. And there was a huge impact on those young people that we were serving. So it felt almost like intuitive, right? And germane to be able to say, hey, look, we need to do something about this. So
Wow.
we started the transitional housing, and we acquired some properties from the city, and we rehabbed them, and we actually turned them into transitional housing. And we
Wow.
were able to service at least 20 families, right? Because we had to cap it at that based on the funding.
Right. So, so your screen disappeared. So we're speaking to candidate for District 2 City Council, Carla-Joy Sisco, and we're having a little technical difficulty. Your sound, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So your sound is out. can't hear you, and I guess she can't hear me either.
Them. I don't know if you're not hearing me or not, but
We
I'll
weren't,
just repeat
was
what
it?
I said. So we had continuum of services, and we provided the parents once they moved into the location with their children to
Right.
reestablish that relationship. We also partnered with Temple University, Center for Social Policy, for them to provide the additional training for them. They could get training in decision making, in budgeting, and things like that, life skills training. And then there was additional training as well for the trades and different other different types of trades that they might want to get involved in.
Wow, so that's phenomenal. So I've just during this interview, I've heard,
And I don't know if you
several.
are able to see me, but
Yes, I can see you.
there might be some issues going on. So I'm hoping you can still hear me. And I would just encourage you that if you have the opportunity to serve, right? And to start as early as possible because the community needs you. And so I graduated from school. I did my community service. And then I moved to Texas in 2011, 2012. And that was exciting as well, to make that move because I had visited Texas a couple of times and thought that this is the place that I wanted to land and continue that service. And so I went to the private sector at that point. Again, worked with CPS Energy as a supervisor. My team and I will go out into the community and we will train people on how they could actually save on their utility bills because that's another large chunk of the income that people get on a monthly basis, besides
Wow.
just paying either rent or your mortgage. Your utilities could be the next highest thing. So we were
Right.
able to
So
provide that service to the community. So as you can see, in terms of the things that I have been passionate about in my life, there's one theme, and that theme has been community service, serving the people of my community, serving the people, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the nonprofit sector. It's just been a continuum of service. I also have a certification
so
as a certified teacher from Harvard University. And so, again, that passion, that excitement. And let me tell you something. I love people. This campaign is about serving people. I love people. And so it felt like a natural progression for me to move over into the role of city council person for District 2 as we go through this campaign process. That felt like a natural progression to me in terms of being able to help people on a different level, where you
so
can
can you
impact policies, where you can impact a broader group of people, like an entire district, as opposed to just maybe a smaller group of people. I wanted to have a larger impact on the community. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running.
so
Can you
I'm
hear
back.
me?
I'm back. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but your screen is frozen.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not frozen over here, but
Okay. In
so as
from the
long as you
yeah.
can hear me, so let us get back on
Mm-hmm.
track a little bit because we've got like about 7 minutes to go. And so I wanted to fast forward. You
Mm-hmm.
talked a lot about community service. You talked about finance and being able to budget. You talked about you're working with the city of Austin. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about that, and you talked about uh, being trained in school in
Mm-hmm.
student government. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, so your screen went out again.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how all of that relates to your campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you plan to utilize the skills in your background
Mm-hmm.
to translate over into serving as District 2 City Council.
Excellent, excellent. Excellent. So, how does how does all that in the last couple of minutes that we have left together? How does all that fit? My experience at my 20 plus years of experience in finance, as you mentioned before, is an essential skill for understanding the budget of the city, and not only understanding how the budget of the city, but as it relates to District Two, how do we get that money into the district? How do we get equitable amounts of money into the district so that we can begin to have the same services that other districts have? Right now, in the poverty report for 2024, District 2 is listed as one of the most generational impoverished district. And I believe with somebody with the skill sets for finance can move us from the now to the new.
Right.
I have 15 years experience in customer service, right? So how does that translate as a candidate or your potential person, council person, is that I know how to listen and solve problems. I had to resolve for the city of Austin, resolve 2,500 escalations per month. And it wasn't like I could put them on the back burner. They had to be resolved in most cases within 5 days of receipt. And so I understand, number one, I'm available. Number one, I listen. And number two, I can solve problems with my customer service skills. With
Well,
my project,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you
mhm,
this. So, okay, you have those particular skills. Okay, you're kind of the middle person, right? As a
mhm,
city council, you represent the constituent, which
mhm,
is the community, people in the community, and you have to work with the city in order to get things resolved. So, how do
mhm.
you work with the city to get issues resolved for your constituents?
I'm glad you asked that question. Right now, my title is a business relationship manager. And that is exactly what I do for the city. And that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I was an IT project manager. But that's what I do right now. I am the in between person between the department directors, because I deal with the department directors and the city IT department, right? And there are a lot of times when a department may want to purchase something, but the city is saying, wait a minute, we need to do a little bit more thinking about that. So I stand square in the middle of that conversation and begin to ask the departments, what is the business need, or what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Who are the stakeholders? How would they be impacted by this? And then relay that message back to the city IT department and say, this is the solution that they're looking for. It may cost $1,000, it may cost
Okay.
$3 million, but this is the solution that they're looking for. This is the business need, this is the impact, this is the value that it would bring, and this is how the community will benefit from that.
Right. So how would
Mhm.
you just pick an issue, and
Mhm.
how would you communicate back and forth between the city
hmm
and
Um, Safety is a one of the big issues and concerns within the community. And one of the things that I would have to do is to restore trust in that relationship between the community and the police department, right? How do we have those conversations about the truth of the matter and the experience, particularly in the community with people of color? How do we reestablish? One of the ways to be reestablish that relationship is to reinstitute having the police officer patrol the community, because those police officers, while they're on duty, will be developing relationships with the community. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, it won't be a quick fix, but it will be a fixed person that they can relate to and be able to establish. And I will support those programs once I am in city council.
so what are your three top priorities? What are you running on?
The three top priorities is workforce readiness, right? Because we're transitioning to a lot of different digital work. We have to actually, there's a gap, right? And we have to ensure that our young people or people that want to transition into different careers are prepared for this technological advance that's going to come to the city of San Antonio. But at the same time, I want to ensure that, again, the trades go back to high school so that people will have options. So workforce readiness will look at there's a gambit of things that I want to do, and you can find out more on my website. The second thing is safety and safe and secure communities, which we talked about just a few minutes ago, which doesn't include just policing. It includes, and I know that we currently have a project for street lighting, but it includes much more than that. Safety includes emergency preparedness, and that we don't always think about that as a part of safety, but we just had a COVID situation, right? And so that's one of the things. There is, again, a litany of things that comes under that second key, right? The third key thing that I'm proposing to advocate for is healthy aging, right? We tend to forget our seniors in the community. They're the ones that are devoted to the community. They've been devoted for decades. They're still working in positions where there are leaders in the neighborhood associations and things like that. But we don't have necessarily services specifically I mean, I know we have senior citizen center, and I know we have services there, but some of the things that the seniors were talking to me about, could we have, topics like grief management, right? A spouse may die and nobody really thinks about some of the things that we may go through. Could we have funding to repair our porch, for example? You guys come and knock on our door and step over our porch, you see that it's broken, and you don't do nothing about it. How about some funding just to have repairs done within our homes, because we don't have the funds. We're in a for the it happens. But I just want you to know I love the community. I'm excited about running for office. This is a passion that's in my belly. This is not some overnight thing. I am looking to represent you. Send me. I'll go. I'll go be your voice in the community. I'll advocate for you. And I hope that you will give me the opportunity to be your next city council person.
Wow. So how can people learn more about you just briefly? So how can people learn more about your platform? So anyway, you've been tuned into TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach, and we've been speaking with the phenomenal Carla-Joy Sisco. She's a candidate for District 2 City Council, and look out for her. She may be knocking on your door next. So thank you for stopping by. This has been a great conversation again, and we will see you soon. Ciao. So we look forward to hearing more from you, and thank you for tuning in, and
Mhm.
thank you for your time.
I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, sorry for the technical challenges that we have, but that's how we learn to pivot, right?
Right.
Thank you
Good
so
deal.
much.
All
Mhm.
right. Have a good
Mhm.
evening. Bye
You
bye.
too.